You didn't mean to stay up this late, but here you are, wrapped in a blanket that suddenly doesn't feel thick enough. The lights are dimmed, the room is still too still, and yet, something is listening with you. You hit play. The voice that follows isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It slithers through your ears like a memory you didn't know you had. Not a bedtime story, not a warning, but a confession, pulled from the darkest corners of the internet. Stories people wish they could forget, but once you hear them, you'll carry them too. So don't bother turning on the lights. They won't save you now. She was just finishing up payroll for the month, tapping numbers into the screen as the muffled noise of drills echoed from the back workshop. Her father, a quiet immigrant from the Balkans, ran a modest home repair company. Most of his crew were skilled Filipino workers, humble, kind, and loyal. The day felt routine, boring even, until the front door chimed. He walked in like he owned the place, Ken. Sweat-soaked collar, cheap cologne, and a permanent scowl like he'd just smelled something foul. His eyes scanned the room, settling on the two workers down the hall like they were insects. Then he spat the words, "I don't want those Asians touching my house." She froze. Her fingers hovered above the keyboard. Something shifted in the air, quiet but not peaceful. More like the air before a storm. Ken stepped closer to the counter, nostrils flaring. I said, "Fire them," immediately. And just then, a strange blue light seeped through the back window. Faint, cold, like the light at the bottom of a frozen lake. And there behind Ken, something was standing. It wasn't a shadow. It wasn't a reflection. It was a presence. Her father walked out from the back, calm as ever, but his eyes didn't blink. He stood between her and Ken. "No one gets fired," he said quietly, "until you've paid what you owe." Ken opened his mouth to argue again, but the words never came. His jaw clenched, his face drained of color. He turned slowly and saw it. The wall behind him wasn't casting his shadow. It was something else. Twisted, thin, neck bent the wrong way, floating, smiling. But the smile curved upward toward its forehead like its mouth had been carved on wrong. Ken stumbled back, shoved a wad of cash onto the counter and fled. Didn't even shut the door. And just like that, the room was normal again. Or was it? Because that night and every night after, there was the sound of footsteps on the glass just outside the front door. Pacing, then gone. And one night when she came down late to grab her laptop, she looked into the glass, saw her own reflection, and someone standing next to her. Same uniform, same hairstyle, same eyes. But the face didn't move. Sometimes monsters don't come through the door. Sometimes they already work here. And if you think a quiet neighborhood office is the safest place to be, you might want to hear what happened on the foggy roads just one town over, in the voice that called me from the fog. That afternoon, sunlight spilled across the dinner table like faded memories. My younger sister sat beaming her fingers, clutching her phone, her voice bubbling with excitement. They got back to me so fast I thought I'd have to wait a week. She had just landed an interview at a major firm, good position, great pay. A dream job, really. Dad nodded with pride. Mom smiled gently. But my brother didn't say a word. He stared at the table, silent. His hand tightened around his coffee spoon. Then, barely above a whisper, came the words, "Why not me?" The room froze. Mom's smile faltered. Dad's tone sharpened. She earned it. "You should be happy for her." My brother didn't respond. He stood and left the room without looking back. We heard his footsteps climbing the wooden stairs, heavy, deliberate, fading into the hush of the hallway above. A beat of silence passed. Then something else. Not his steps, not barefoot, but a sharper sound, clicking, deliberate. Heels, high heels, step, 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 from upstairs. I glanced up, heart skipping. My sister's smile had faded too. Her eyes locked onto the ceiling. Did you hear that she whispered? Like someone walking in heels. There was no one else in the house, just the four of us. No visitors. No one upstairs. No one wore heels. That night, my sister couldn't sleep. The next day, she nailed the interview. She called me right after, her voice still trembling with excitement. I got the job. Oh, and I took a quick selfie in the elevator before leaving. I'll send it to you. She texted the picture. Her smile filled the frame, bright and relieved. She stood in a glass elevator. City lights behind her. But I barely noticed her. Behind her, blurred in the reflection of the mirrored wall, stood a tall figure. Too tall, wearing a suit, head slightly bowed, face obscured in shadow. I stared at it, my throat tightening. I sent the photo to Mom and Dad. No one said a word, but everyone saw it. Everyone felt it. Then my sister texted again. It's weird. I swear I was alone in there. I even turned around, no one, but I don't want to delete the photo. I feel like someone's watching through it. That night, the clicking returned. Slower this time. One step, then another. High heels walking through silence. That night, the streets of Colorado felt unusually hollow. The streetlights hummed above our heads, flickering gently like they were trying to stay awake. My father and I were walking home after he'd had drinks with a few old friends. Nothing heavy, just a couple of laughs over a few beers. We were crossing a nearly empty block when we saw him, Alex. He was young, maybe in his 20s, staggering slightly as he walked, a half-empty bottle of something swinging from his fingers. He kicked a trash can as he passed, muttering to himself. His eyes caught us for just a second before he changed direction and walked straight toward us. Without warning, Alex shouldered into my father, not hard, but not by accident either. My father stiffened. Watch it, he said quietly, but with heat in his voice. Alex didn't apologize. Instead, he let out a laugh, one of those hollow, mocking sounds, and kicked him lightly in the side, like a cruel joke with no punchline. That's when I saw it. Something switched in my father. The man who was always calm, the one who told me to never raise my voice. His eyes lit up with something raw and almost feral. He grabbed a piece of discarded wood from the side of the street. A flat board splintered at the ends, like it had been waiting there for this exact moment. And then, with a shout that didn't sound like him at all, he slammed it into Alex's head. The crack echoed like thunder breaking a clear sky. Alex dropped to his knees, then to the ground. Blood seeped slowly from a wound just above his temple, glistening under the streetlight like a growing shadow. My father stood over him, panting, eyes wide, knuckles white around the board. And then he said, "Not to me, not to anyone, maybe not even to Alex. I won't let you destroy my family." His voice shook, but there was no regret in it, just something final. Alex didn't move. The others, my father's friends, grabbed him, urging him away. Let's go, now." But something else caught my eye. From across the intersection, a figure appeared. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. It didn't walk. It glided almost too smoothly, like its feet didn't touch the pavement. The streetlight above it buzzed and dimmed, and for a split second I saw it clearly. A clean white light surrounded it. No features, no face. Just the sense that it had been watching us long before we noticed. And then it vanished. No sound, no trace. The light above Alex flickered, casting his motionless body in alternating flashes of life and death until it went out completely. The next morning, I heard from one of the neighbors that Alex was alive barely. He had been found and taken to the hospital unconscious but stable. At home, my father sat on the edge of the couch, drenched in sweat. When my mother asked what had happened, he didn't tell her about the fight. He didn't mention Alex. He just muttered, "They were messing around." It's fine. Everything's fine. But it wasn't fine. He never walked down that street again. And for months, maybe years, he would flinch whenever a street lamp buzzed too loud or a shadow stretched too long on the wall. And me, I started dreaming of that corner, of the light going out, and someone standing beneath it, a girl, her back to me, head tilted slightly. Each night she came closer, and one night, she opened her eyes. Spiral wasn't just a workplace. It was a metal coffin dressed up as a factory, hot chemical laced and humming with something that felt wrong. My name is Quinn, and I worked there for over 6 months. The first thing you learn in a place like Spiral, don't ask questions, especially about the things you're not supposed to see. People coughed all the time, not just a dry winter cough, but the kind that sounds like something sharp is clawing its way up from their lungs. The fluorescent lights flickered, constantly stuttering, like they were too afraid to stay on. And then there were the pipes. I started noticing this faint green sheen drifting through the wastewater tubes. I told myself it was just residue chemical byproduct, maybe. But one night, staying late to finish some safety logs, I saw it move. Not float, not swirl. Swim. It coiled and twisted like something alive. Something that noticed me. After that, I kept seeing more small shifts in pressure temperature dips, a low gurgling hum beneath the floorboards. But when I brought it up in passing, Dan, our supervisor, cut me off cold. You open your mouth to anyone, you're out. That clear. His voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The blisters on his hand, raw red and recent, said more than his words ever could. I knew I couldn't let this go. Quietly, I filed anonymous reports to OSHA and EPA using a dusty internet cafe on the edge of town. I double-checked every keystroke, logged out of everything. No one would know it was me. Or so I thought. The very next morning, Dan called me into his office. His posture was different, not aggressive, shaken. He didn't look like a man protecting a secret. He looked like someone who had seen too much of it. You saw the green thing, didn't you? In the pipes. He pulled a photo from his desk drawer. Old, grainy, and almost too faded to make out, but I saw it. A cracked sewage pipe, and pressed against the inside, watching from the dark. A face, green, glossy, featureless except for the eye. One eye, fixed straight at the camera. It's not just runoff, he whispered. It remembers, it watches, it knows who looks back. Before I could speak, we heard 3 knocks, sharp, evenly spaced. Dan froze. Tell them I resigned, he muttered, barely audible. Just tell them I'm done. Days later, the inspectors came. Spiral was partly shut down. Dan was suspended. People were relieved. But not me. Every time I walk past the storm drain behind the factory, I feel it. A flicker in the murk below. A ripple that stops moving the moment I turn to look. Sometimes I hear something. A soft hiss like steam or laughter. Maybe I saved someone. But whatever lives down there, it saw my face, and it hasn't forgotten. You lie still. The screen has gone dark, except for the faint glow of the clock. 2:17 a.m. Your heart taps against your chest, not out of fear. Not exactly. It's the weight of something unshaken. The stories are over, but your mind hasn't caught up. You're angry, you're unsettled, you're cold but sweating. And yet, beneath it all, there's silence. Not peace, not relief, just silence. Like the pause before something knocks. You turn off the device. But the stories don't leave. They hum in the walls. They breathe between the blinds. They wait in the space behind your thoughts. Because tonight you didn't just hear them. You invited them in. Sleep tight.